Board of Directors meeting. It is via Zoom. It's a little bit after 10 a.m. on November 16th, 2021. We do have quorum, so I will ask for a roll call, please. Mike Metzger is here. Gary Henry. Here. Brad Walters. Here. Jay Churchill. Here. Dennis Rack. Here. Stephen Thorpe. Here. Let the record show that there are 6 members present. We do have quorum. I would like to, I see County Legislator, Mr. Pierre Chagnon is on. Would you like to make a statement at this time?
Thank you, Chairman. I have no statements to make at this time. Just happy to be here and enjoying all the snow.
Oh, yes. So thank you, Pierre, for attending.
Mike, I just want to let you know the county executive has just joined the call.
Oh, the county executive, Mr. P.J. Wendell is here. Would you like to make a statement at this time?
No, I thank you for the opportunity. I just do have to leave early today, though, to make a few more rounds, but always appreciate the involvement and everything you guys are all doing, and gals, excuse me.
Okay, and also, you two know that at any time you can chime in or comment or provide us with insight. So thank you for attending. I'd like to ask for a motion for the approval of the October 26, 2021 minutes that you received in your packet prior. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, I think it was Jay moved and Gary seconded. Any changes, comments, revisions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried unanimously. We have a great announcement coming from our executive director, Mark Geis, regarding a new addition to our already excellent team. Mark, please.
Yeah, so as you all know, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you all know, we talked a couple of months ago about hiring a full-time marketing and communications person and splitting the cost and the duties between CREDC and the IDA. We canvassed heavily for this position, and we interviewed 4 individuals, and we offered, and the individual accepted on Monday, and his name is Jason Teslowski. Now, you might know Jason probably more from his wife, Journey Gunderson, who runs the National Comedy Center. And Jason has a very strong marketing and communications background. More recently, he was the president of Chautauqua Local Foods, which really served a large population of the Chautauqua institution, which involved a lot of marketing and branding and a lot of logistics. He also worked for Edible Western New York Magazine. He worked for the Athenaeum Hotel. He also, earlier in his career, had a big job at T-Mobile in New York City. But, we were really impressed not only by his experience and background, but also by his interview and his cover letter. And he just gets it. He really gets it. So we couldn't be more excited about bringing him on. He's going to start, I think, December 6th will be his first day. And he'll be mostly spending his time in Jamestown at the BWB building, but we'll be venturing up to the North County often. So we had invited him to be on the call to say a few words, but he's not on. So hope everyone can welcome him. And I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments.
No, I've been fortunate to know Jason for many years, and I think you made an excellent selection.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Now I'd like to move to new business, please. New business A, if could please be presented by Carol and Millen.
Millen's going to talk about that, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks, Millen.
Okay.
Okay, this is the Omni Solar pilot deviation, and we had noticed it for today. But as everyone knows, the IDA's policy is to not really get ahead of the town. That is, we're willing to do these solar projects if the town is basically requests us to. We had thought the town was going to be further along in their process, but they are not. So because the town has not done seeker and the IDA is involved with agency, we can't do seeker. And because of that, I think we're going to pull the deviation hearing until the town does their seeker and other negotiations with the company. So we hope to have that on for the next meeting, but it really just depends on the town and the applicant. So we're going to pull that. We will renotice it for any of the affected tax jurisdictions that would like to make a comment. But again, we're hoping that by the time we put it on, the town will be done with everything they need to do with the applicant. So that's Omni Solar.
Thanks, Millen.
Thank you, Millen.
Thank you, Millen. All right, hearing that, let's move to new business B, and that's being presented by Christine, Mark, and Millen.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome, Sam and Joe. We're really happy to have you with us today. Sam is Sam Savarino, the president and CEO with Savarino Companies, and Joe Quinn is the project development associate for Savarino Companies. I'll provide a high-level overview, and then I'll ask Mark if he has any comments that he'd like to share, and then we'll ask our guests to present more detail regarding their project. So the resolution that you have before you today is a preliminary due diligence resolution with due diligence agreement between the CCIDA and the applicant. And the project that's being presented is the acquisition and renovation and really an adaptive reuse of the historic Welch's building at 2 Portage in Westfield. This would renovate the entire existing building, and it would create a mix of affordable to market rate residential apartments and a commercial tenant space. The application that we received is a pilot tax lease application requesting 15 years adaptive reuse, real property tax abatement, sales tax abatement for a period of 18 months or maybe 2 years, mortgage recording tax abatement, and the request as it stands right now is not a deviation from our uniform tax exemption policy. So this is really just a preliminary due diligence resolution. Mark, do you have any comments that you'd like to share?
Yeah, just real quick, we're thrilled to have Rand and Savarino as the team that's going to redevelop the Welch building. This has been on our radar for a really long time, and there was a developer back in 2018, and that fell through, and I think wisely the town employed the services of Paul Blanchard from Hannah Realty, and she really put together a great initiative to find a developer. Savarino and Ramp were one of several developers that were interested in the property, and really their proposal stood above the rest. And I met with Rand when they toured the building and loved what they had to say. And so we're just really thrilled to have this be the conclusion of that. It's a beautiful building, and what a beautiful village. And I think this is going to be a great thing for our community. So with that, I'll kick it back to Christine.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Sam and Joe, we'd like to invite you to provide our board of directors with an overview of the project that you're planning to undertake at this location.
Yeah, let me give you a high-level summary of what we're doing, and I'll depend upon Joe if I may be leaving something out, or if there's some details about, if we want to talk about that, about what it is we're requesting of your entity. But as far as the project itself, Savarino and RANT came together. We had an inquiry from RANT when they had an interest in the project, and they wondered if we would be interested in going in with them. As the discussions, went a little bit further, we agreed that we would put in together to do this, which also meant that we would take a financial interest in the project as well. So we're both very excited about it, and so far working with everybody in Westfield and Chautauqua County, it's gone very well. We responded to the RFP, which I will agree you did a very good job with selecting Paula Blanchard to put it together, because the RFP was very particular, and it's probably not a surprise that you got several proposals going in there. We're very glad to have been selected. I know that we went through a rigorous analysis post-proposal, to make sure that you had done your diligence on us and what it is we wanted to do. What we're proposing over there still is consistent with what we replied to in our RFP. The term of art would be a mixed-use development on the site with a mix of residential units and commercial space. The exact profile of that is going to be subject to some adjustment based upon what we find with existing conditions on the site, and also importantly based upon what the State Office of Historic Preservation and the National Park Service tell us that we can and cannot do. The building, I'll get into that in a second, it is a historic structure, and we're planning on utilizing historic federal and state historic tax credits. So in doing that, we will have probably some restrictions on the historical elements of the building that can be changed or disturbed. What we need to keep in place, we will be submitting a part 1 and a part 2 for it, and then we'll have what's called a part 3, where there's an inspection of the premises to make sure that we have restored it in accordance to National Park Service standards. One discordant note that we did notice that everybody had assumed that the building had received what's called part 1 from SHPO and National Park Service, and that is the first step, which the building is deemed to be historic with a capital H, and qualifies for historic tax credits. Unfortunately, in spite of what everybody might think in looking at that building, it doesn't yet qualify. There was an application put in many years ago. There has been some work done on the building since then that in and of itself would require another part 1. There was also, when the part 1 was put in before, I believe, the application, a lot less was required of buildings than they are right now. So in order to have the building be deemed historic and to qualify for historic tax credits, we have to start from the beginning. Savarino and RANT have retained a historic tax credit consultant who's going through that right now. We anticipate the part 1 application to be ready for submission in mid-December. And while we can't guarantee the time frame of SHPO and the National Park Service, we would anticipate that we would get that approved in mid-February, which we can move forward. The good thing about that is what our study will do, we'll do a more in-depth analysis of the historicity of the building, why it's important, its context within the history of Westfield, the building itself, the Welch's great company, everything about it. And, that's going to be a lot of the content for our decorating and everything else in that building. I think the community will learn again why the building is so important. So we're going through that process right now. So we'll step backwards, but we don't see that as something that's going to be a fatal flaw or an issue, and it's going to add to what we do for the building. So we will also need a market study. We need to determine what we can reasonably expect for rents for the units that we have out there, residential, and what we can expect for the rent for the commercial space as well. That will dictate what we can do for financing. We've made some reasonable assumptions of what we think we'll be able to do out there, so we can make full progress. So the building will be restored, and what you're looking at on the outside probably won't change too much. There'll be some improvements. Some of the facade that is falling down right now will be repaired. The older historic windows, the wood frame windows at the corner of Main and Portage will remain intact. The older factory windows are not in good shape. They're metal windows will likely be replaced with replica windows over there that are a little more energy efficient, but still approximate the look of the existing windows. So the building will look much as it does now, but it will be very active and alive. Our plan right now is to get approval from National Park Service and everything and be ready to go ahead in the fall, at latest in the fall of 2022, and be complete and open in June of 2024. So we're excited by the prospect there. We're very happy that you're considering our application, or at least discussing it. It's an important component of what we want to do. And it was at least mentioned in the RFP that we had that while we had to go through a process with your organization to avail ourselves of what benefits we can for the project, it is an important consideration. So with that being said, I think I've talked enough. So happy to entertain any questions, or if you need any particular information about our application, Joe can probably handle that better than I can.
Just a question. It's a multi-use facility. Floor-wise, what do you anticipate? How many floors of commercial and how many floors of residential, if you could please say?
There's 4 floor levels over there. There's a lower level that's below grade. You can see it from Main and Street. That will definitely be commercial. There's an end of that site with some windows that look out at that park area that's behind the building. Those would be residential. Floors 2 and 3 would be all residential, and currently we're looking at least half of floor 1. The market study will tell us whether there is a market to put more residential units in over there. So that will determine what happens to the balance of that first floor. But we provided preliminary floor plans with our response to the RFP. I don't see us changing that to a large degree, with the exception of that first floor space at the corner of Portage and Main. We don't know exactly whether it's going to be residential or commercial at this point.
Thank you. I'll tell you, I'm selfish that you're doing this project because there isn't a week that goes by that someone doesn't ask me what's happening with the Welch building. So thank you very much. Other members of the board, questions? Joe Quinn, would you like to?
I think Sam covered everything quite thoroughly. I'm happy to field any questions, but I don't specifically have anything else to add.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else questions? Well, this is This is an iconic building, not only in Westfield, but in the county. So we're very excited about this project. Hearing Christine, is there anything else that you'd like to bring forward before I ask for the resolution?
I don't have anything additional to add. I would just ask Millen to present the resolution and describe it when you're ready.
Okay, Millen, if you could, please.
Happy to. This is a preliminary due diligence resolution, and I think as the board has heard, this is a fairly unique project for the IDA, and there's still a lot of moving pieces. So the due diligence here will be fairly robust, if you will. The pilot, we need to look at the numbers, and that's I think the programming is still in flux. So the number of affordable versus market rate units and what the rents achievable are will all go into sort of the calculation of what kind of a pilot the project can afford. There's a retail component. So among the other pieces of due diligence, we need to confirm that by project cost, the retail component is less than 1/3. There's environmental due diligence, and finally the cost benefit analysis. So I think we have our work cut out for us, and this resolution authorizes and instructs the staff and council to go forward and do the due diligence. Among other things, I will just note that as this project is not likely to close before the year end, we have the new prevailing wage statute to consider. I've been in touch with the applicant's counsel already to start talking about this, and the most likely conclusion is that because the project will, we hope, be receiving state historic tax credits, that's one of the exemptions from the prevailing wage statute. Because our understanding of current is that the developer is not planning on imposing prevailing wage on each of its contractors. So that's one more piece of sort of due diligence that we need to work on and resolve before bringing this back to the full board for their approval. So this is, again, the preliminary due diligence resolution, and it just authorizes and instructs us to perform all that due diligence in connection with the project.
Thank you, Millen. Any questions of Christine, Mark, Millen, Sam, or Joe? If not, I'll entertain Jay, if you could please move new business B2.
Resolution 11-16-21-01, preliminary due diligence resolution and agreement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Jay, seconded by Dennis. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Gary Henry?
Aye.
Brad Walters?
Aye.
Jay Churchill?
Aye.
Dennis Rack?
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe?
Aye.
Let the record show 6 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. All the best for you and your project. Extremely excited, and we appreciate you looking to Chautauqua County.
Thank you for your help and support.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
New business C. Linda and Millen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Board. On November 4th, the Transaction Committee voted unanimously in favor of approval for a lead application submitted by Muldowney Development, Inc. The requested financial assistance is for sales tax abatement of up to $40,000 on their $500,000 project to improve real property located at 3817 Lakeshore Drive East in Dunkirk. This property is also known as the Route 5 Warehouse and Business Park. These improvements are needed to support the tenant expansion and to create more food-grade storage for the local industries. The project includes a new roof, gymnasium expansion for childcare, sprinkler upgrades, insulation, framing, and lighting. Downey has received commitments for bank financing of $250,000 and STIDO financing of $100,000, along with his $150,000 capital investment. There'll be 10 construction jobs during the construction phase and 2 part-time once completed, with an anticipated completion date of December 31st, 2022. That's it in a nutshell. And Millen, would you like to comment at this time about the LEAD program?
Sure. And again, there's no action needed by the board. This really is just, we wanted to update the board that this is, I believe, our second project with the LEAD program. And as board members will recall, about a year or so ago, we instituted this program. It's for sales tax only and financial assistance of up to $100,000 because we can do that on a very expedited basis. The statute says that for any project with financial assistance over $100,000, we need to have a specific public hearing and a specific board resolution. So instead of that, we did the LEAD program, which delegates from the board to the transactions committee the approval process for these smaller projects. Again, this is the second one that we've done. Linda, I think St. George was the first. So this is a very exciting because it's a streamlined process. The fees are very reasonable, and I think it's a great asset that the IDA has created to help smaller businesses with smaller projects on an expedited and low-cost basis. So quite honestly, the board and staff ought to be sort of proud of themselves that they are able to do this on the smaller projects. So again, there's no action. I think we're happy to answer questions, but this really is just by way of an update for the board. And one more thing, quite honestly, you can take credit for out in the community.
And if I could just add real quick a little maybe background. If you recall, this was the result really of, if you recall, there was the pump station on Teslowski that was in the city of Dunkirk, and it served Atwater and Muldowney in the town of Dunkirk. And the pump station had major issues that required a significant amount of upgrades and cost, and the city and the town just weren't willing to do that. So it really forced it upon Atwater and Muldowney to take care of their fire suppression systems on their own. So Kevin Muldowney, reached out to Southern Tier West and others and talked to us, and so he decided to upgrade his sprinkler system, and while he was at it, do these other things. So that's really what this project stemmed from, necessity. But while he's at it, he's got the opportunity to attract other customers, and so he needed to do these other things. So this is a great outcome for that.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Millen. Yes, he's really excited to have this sales tax abatement, and can't come quick enough for him to get started with, especially with the roof, with the snow coming. So thank you.
Yes. Well, if you've been in Chautauqua, the snow is here, so hopefully, but thank you, Linda and Millen, for keeping on this project and bringing it to fruition. Any other questions? Okay, let's move to the executive director's CEO update, please, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to fly through a few things real quick here in the interest of time. I want to talk first of all about the White Inn. We've been working really hard, kind of behind the scenes, on trying to find a developer for the White Inn for years now, right? And more recently, we finally convinced JG Funding to switch brokers and go with Paula Blanchard. We talked about Paula Blanchard at Hannah earlier with the Welch Building, and what a great job she did on that, and her team. And they signed a contract a couple of weeks ago. They had a big articles in Buffalo Business First, the Buffalo News, and they marketed it in other ways. And they've already had several serious inquiries and a number of tours through the White Inn. We also had a big stakeholder meeting last week. Our chairman was a part of that, County Executive Wendell and others in the community, to kind of talk through where we're at, what we're trying to do. So I'm really, I'm really hopeful that we can find a good developer for the facility. It's in fairly rough shape. It needs probably a new roof. We're not sure about the boiler system, but there's some action occurring now, and I'm hopeful that we're going to have a good result. The other thing is a number of other things, but Vittoria Dairy. Okay, so the old Castelli cheese. As you recall, Vittoria purchased it from the state earlier this year. The principals have been unable to get over to the U.S. because of COVID until yesterday. We had a meeting, and then we had dinner with a couple of the principals, Sergio and Pietro. And Dario joined us by Zoom, and we had also Cornell Agritech there, Kathy Young and her team. We had John Brown from Asheville, the town supervisor, and we had a really good meeting with them to talk about all the things that we could do at the IDA, with incentives. The town, what they could do, and also what Cornell could do. And they've got a lot of programs around dairy. And I thought it went really, really well. I talked to Rich this morning about it, and we feel really good. They're looking to invest about $10 million in that facility. They already ordered a new piece of machinery. And by the way, PJ joined us for dinner last night as well. But they already ordered a new, it's called a separator piece of machinery from the Netherlands. They're in there today figuring out what equipment they're going to keep and what equipment they're going to sell. And then they're going to put an addition on for aging the hard Parmesan cheese that they're going to be making there. So I could go on and on, but this is really exciting. They're looking at 34 full-time employees to start, and then ramping up to about 80 full-time employees after 3 years. So that's an awesome outcome. I also wanted to mention that we received a $160,000 grant to do a phase 2 study on the NRG facility. If you recall, we did a phase 1. And we really looked at some high-level concepts, what seems to make sense. And this NYSERDA Just Transition grant will allow us to dig in a little deeper, really kind of put some flesh on the bones, and really put together some marketing information and do some modeling, energy modeling, and really figure out what makes the most sense. NYSERDA's we had a kickoff meeting about a month ago. Bergman's our contractor for it. Nate and Rebecca are very involved in this, so we'll see where this leads. But we're keeping our fingers crossed that something good comes out of this. We also applied for an EDA Build Back Better grant. Really, Nate took the lead on this. We all pitched in, we all helped, and we had Harry Sickerman and Chuck Bell involved as well. We applied for a $460,000 grant, concentrating on the tourism sector. And if we're awarded this grant, it's very, very competitive. If we're awarded this grant, there's up to $100 million available for implementing these tourism projects. So we're keeping our fingers crossed on that. We last week in the Buffalo Business First, or it might have been the week before, but there was an article about Chautauqua County and all the projects going on, and a very nice article. And Jim Fink, I guess at the I was told, I wasn't there, I couldn't go, but they do a big kind of real estate get together, real estate brokers, site selectors. They do it in Buffalo. It's a big deal, and Jim Fink was a guest speaker, and I was told that he really went on and on about Chautauqua County, all the great stuff going on in Chautauqua County. So that's really good to hear. We also have been actively negotiating with several landowners about sites to expand our development-ready site offerings. And we've been working with Paula Blanchard's been involved, Linda has been involved, Nate, others. We're looking at 3 sites in the North County right now, and starting to get down to the nitty-gritty. And so we'll see. We've got the ARPA funding, we've got some IDA funding, we've got some other funding. We hope to acquire at least 80 acres and get it shovel-ready here in the coming year or more, but we're moving as quickly as we can on that. Just 3 other real quick updates. Rose, do you want to share whatever picture you have queued up first here? Just want to give you a little progress on some of the things that some of the projects we've been working on. We've got Americold, Athenix, and Loves. I think she's working on it.
Any questions of Mark? Wow.
Yeah. Any questions so far? So, Athenix, and I'm not going to go on about where they're at, but, it's almost complete. They've got a few other pieces of machinery that they've ordered, and they're gearing up. They've got, they're planning on between 60 and 80 employees, I believe, by the end of this year. And they're gearing up for manufacturing some of the products that Athenix already makes in other locations, such as like injectables and ointments and that kind of stuff. And they're still working on their FDA approval for this oral breast cancer drug. So things are going well there. I guess maybe not where they thought they would be, but they're plugging away. Next picture.
Can you see that?
No, you got to close the other one.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yep. So that's Loves. Loves, the outside of the building is complete. They're working on the interior, and they expect to be completed by, I believe, late January, to have it completed complete, and then we'll do some more of the outside landscaping, that kind of stuff in the spring. So I'm sure you all know Love's is right on Shortman Road, right off the Route 90 there, and we provided incentives for this project. So that's moving along quite well. Okay, you want to close that, and then Americold. So if you haven't been by Americold recently, it's kind of amazing actually. The size of that facility and the progress that they're making. So every time I drive by, it's like, wow. I know Steve St. George did a lot of the land clearing and prep for this facility, but they're really making incredible progress on this. So wanted to show you that. I can't remember, maybe somebody else can remember when they were planning on opening or having this usable. I want to say middle of next year, the third quarter.
Yeah, 1 second, Mark. I'm just looking for you right now.
That's all right. Second or third quarter.
Second quarter of 22.
Yeah, second quarter of 2022. So that's really going along well. So I think that is about all I have to say for today, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Mark. You and your team have got a lot of irons in the fire, and much appreciated. And I know there's some other, hopefully, good news coming on other projects in the beginning of the year. So tremendous job. Thanks to the whole team. Well done. Now the treasurer's report. Rich, how are you doing?
My knee that I had replaced is doing great. I recovered from COVID, and now my left knee is swollen to the size of a basketball, and I see the surgeon tomorrow. So, yeah, got to take the good news and the bad news together. Millen inspired me to get in shape, even better shape. I lost 50 pounds. I had a Y membership. I spent one day on the treadmill, and that was all it took for my knee to explode. So, we'll get a couple new parts here, and we'll be good as new, Mike.
Way to go, Millen.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you blaming me? And if so, put a claim into my health insurance plan.
Yeah, I'll tell you, swimming. Yes, doesn't put any weight, but gives you the exercise.
I read that the steam room at the Y is very healthy too. So I might try that.
Yeah.
Hey, and Dennis, I have a question for you. Would it be possible to get some Welch's grape juice at the groundbreaking of the Welch's building when they're done?
Oh, I think we'll manage to find some somewhere. Although we're selling everything we can bottle right now. If we had more bottles, we'd be selling more. So have to put in a request ahead of time here.
That's fabulous. Good news. Good news. All right. Well, let's start here with the balance sheet. Excuse me. There's something in the middle of my screen. I can't get rid of it. Okay. So, 16 years on the job, I have to say that our balance sheet's looking very good. I point out a couple things. Cash-wise, we're in great shape in all our funds. I want to note on the accounts receivable for the IDA, it's $2.6 million. Almost $2.1 million of that is administrative fees that we have stretched out over the years between the wind farms, the Athenex project, the Webb's project. And so, stretching those out helps the developer. It also helps us with our cash flow, keeping it, kind of consistent. So those are the major things there. We go to the next page, Rosie. So here's our profit and loss. Getting close. One more, Rosie. 60 should do it. There we go. Again, the IDA is doing extremely well. You'll notice the Capital Resource Corporation, CCCRC, had an application application and administrative fees of $62,500. Those are the bond fees for the refunding of the ice arena bond, and also the National Comedy Center did some refinancing with us. And in years past, that would have all been included in the IDA, but since the IDA can't issue civic facilities bonds, Capital Resource Corporation can. And the IDA recognizes all the revenue and expense from the CCCRC, and we're getting some documents drawn up by George Craig to formalize that. The Authority Budget Office had some questions about that, so we're answering those. From CREDC over are all of the activities that Mark and Nate have undertaken, and everything they're funded. So moving along nicely on all those projects. And if there's anything you want to mention there, Mark or Nate, please do when I'm done. If we go to the last page, please. This is our revenue and expense. So our application and administrative fees, we've already broke through what we thought we would get for the year, and the majority of that breakthrough comes through with the Ball Hill wind farm. We had not recognized we had $300,000 worth of payments still to be paid by them. We had not recognized that as revenue because they weren't far enough along. But we've taken some drives up to the hill. You see the roads are in, the lay-down sections are done. They poured some footers this fall. The trees are all cleared, so they'll be putting towers up in the spring there, and that project will be complete next year. So according to our revenue recognition policy, that was far enough along for us to recognize that revenue. The grant income other, that majority of that is the timing for the EDA loan fund, and we recognize the revenue as we get it, so we'll probably close that gap a little bit as we get toward the end of the year. And if we don't get it at the end of the year, we'll recognize it in the beginning of next year. We have until June 30th to expend the entire $10 million, and we've committed almost 10.6. Mark and I have been looking at the cash flow sheet. We might even be doing a little more publicity here and offering some more COVID relief loans to smaller businesses on smaller type working capital loans, as we've got some more money in there that's come back from principal and interest, and we're allowed to use the same terms up to June 30th. So we'll see if there's any other interest for that out in the field. Some timing issues on the expenses, but everything's in good shape, and as you can see that we're doing extremely well. And that's all I have, Mike, unless anyone has any specific questions about the report.
Any other questions for Rich? I don't think it could look any better, Rich.
I know, Mike. We might, have some down years coming on the revenue side, but as far as the cash flow goes, in the next 5 years, we've got over $2.2 million coming in for fees. So, while you recognize that revenue in 1 year, it's a big thing, but you've got the cash flow to take care of it over time. So that's good.
So, I was just gonna say, I think anybody would be happy with those financials. I mean,
that was not always the case, Dennis.
I know it wasn't. But they certainly look good now. Makes you smile a little bit.
I can remember depositing checks on December 31st at 3:30. And wow! I'm glad I got that one.
Yes,
every business has that.
Yeah, but excellent work by everyone. I would entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion by Dennis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Dennis, seconded by Stephen. Any further discussion? Brad? Oh,
Yes.
Oh, did you have a question?
Oh, no, I was seconding the motion.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you, Brad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried unanimously. Now I'd like to entertain a motion to move to executive session for purpose of discussion of either personnel or businesses or addition of real estate or properties. Do I have a motion? Okay, I'll take Jay's motion and then